We have a big voice in the house, Milind Karmarkar, who's a renowned consumer analyst, head of equity at the Dalal & Broacha Brokers, joins in and is in exclusive conversation with my colleague Nikunj.
Say a similar number, 3.5x, then we will be somewhere around $6,000 per capita. Effectively, what it means is that we will be somewhere around $25,000 for a family of 4. Now in US, that is the poverty line. So the entire India will be above US's poverty line. So then look at the kind of consumption boom which can come in, and that is what I am banking on. So I still believe that this is not the end, this is just the beginning for anything to do with consumption.
So your whole anchoring of your portfolio is centered around the fact that Indians will consume more.
Yes.
You got to buy anything which has got to do with consumption.
That's correct. But when we say consumption, it's not only focused only on retail or FMCG or white goods. They do form an important part, but then there can be insurance, there can be banks, there can be pharmaceuticals, and there can also be insurance I've already spoken about. Hospitals could be other. So there are a whole lot of sectors which come under consumption.
So I'll talk about all these subsectors one by one.
Okay.
So first, let's talk about retail.
Yeah.
You bought into Trent 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That time online retail was not there. Now
I
online
agree.
retail
Yeah.
is there.
Yes.
We've known Walmart has come for has voted for the online format because
Yeah.
they bought Flipkart. So
Correct.
the biggest retailer in the world is not going for offline model, they are going for online model. Why are you bullish on the Indian retail model?
But then Amazon is going for a brick and mortar buyouts as well. So I think when it comes to online, it will be one of the ways in which we buy. So I'm sure many of them, like be it Trent or many of them, Titan or any of the other retail, Future Group and everyone, will go online some point in time, wherein they have this one more additional space from where you can buy the stock.
Is it urban legend that you bought into Trent 15 years ago, or is it actually true?
It is actually true. It was, and I'll tell you the reason for that. So it was trading at 60 rupees, a 10 rupee paid up share, and they had announced, they had just got money from sale of Lakme, and they had announced that they want to go into retail. So we thought that retail was a great idea, organized retail for India. There were virtually no players that time, very few. So we decided to go and talk to them. We talked to them. There was nothing much which they could say, except that yes, their focus was going to be organized retail. We looked at countries around, we looked at the US, and we realized that over a longer period, organized retail has got a huge scope. And even one more point was there, that at that point in time, Trent had 70 rupees cash in the balance sheet and it was available for 60 or 62 rupees. So it was virtually a no-brainer. And that's the reason why we went and bought it. Obviously, the market probably that time thought that the money will be whiled away, it will be lost. But we thought the other way around and we bought it and we just held on to
You've
it.
been holding on to Trent.
Yeah, yeah.
And you got no reason that you're looking at locking or booking out of Trent even after 15 years.
No, as I said that, I see another 3.5x growth in the per capita GDP of India. So I don't have any reason. Like, just an anecdotal thing that in the recent AGM of Berkshire, Warren Buffett was talking about investing in stocks. So he said in 1942, what was required was only a belief that America will do well over a longer period of time. So I think the same thing is true in India also. You need to believe that India will do well irrespective of what is happening at the current juncture.
That's a
at
great
any
point.
given
That's
point.
a great point. But you don't think Trent is trying to spread themselves too thin because they are present in the hypermarket format, which is Kirana Wala or Sabji Wala format.
Yeah.
They have West Side, that's
Yes.
another format.
Yes.
They've come out with a low-end fashion brand. So for a company of
Zudio.
that size, aren't they trying to spread themselves too thin?
So each of these segments has got a huge opportunity. Be it Zudio, be it West Side, or be it Star Bazaar, and of course Zara is their joint venture. So each of this segment in its individual capacity can be a very big business over a longer period of time. And who knows, over a period they may spin off these businesses. I don't know whether they will do that, but that's a possibility which I think, again, just
That's a
to go
personal
back.
belief.
Yeah, it's a personal belief. Second thing is, it is not a recommendation, as I always say. We are just discussing certain stocks which I like and which I hold over a longer period of time.
You've been very bullish on the entire food space in India. I mean,
That's right.
It's a large space,
Yeah.
10 to 11 lakh crore, and I may still be conservative with my estimate if I have to talk about the
I
food
know.
space.
Yeah.
Define that space for us. What is the best way to participate in that space?
So there could be many companies which are in that space. So there could be company like Britannia, there could be company like Pratap Snacks, which has come recently. I have not looked at the company, but one needs to look at these companies. There could be DFM Food. So it's not that we don't have there is Nestle, there is HUL, there is ITC. So there are huge number of companies in this space. I think individuals need to work on the numbers or look at the kind of opportunity which is there and then take a call and buy these stocks.
I was reading notes of one of the Buffett's interview on one of the media channels, and Buffett now seems to be acknowledging that the margins in the packaged food business or the dairy business or the food business, now they are getting diluted, and retailers will have a strong say, not the manufacturers.
Correct.
What could that do to companies like Britannia, HUL and ITC, because these companies are built around brands,
Right.
but some of brands are losing their mojo.
I really don't know whether it will happen over the next 10-15 years. Maybe 25-30 years it will happen, because as of now in India the situation is that these companies are much stronger than the retailers themselves. When retailers become extremely strong, like what happened in the United States, but it took nearly 50 years for that change, it can happen in India as well. But the size of opportunity will not come down. That is still there.
What I've always admired about you is that typically when you value a business, you are not in this madness to buy something sasta.
No, I'm not.
You go for something which is very cheap.
Yeah.
So how do you judge the potential of the business? Because the analyst in you, I'm sure, is curious to understand how to value the business.
Yeah.
If you're buying gold at the price of diamond or gold at the price of silver, it may not be a good investment. So how do you convince yourself when you first time bought Titan or Trent or Britannia? Because like you said, they were never cheap also.
So I'll give you an example of Titan. When I bought Titan, I think the turnover was roughly about 800 crores. And
That's it.
And the reason, I'll tell you why. So Dalal and Brocha's main mentor, Mr. Priyakant Dalal. So I trained under him. So he used to tell me that your investment should be such that the amount you invest after 20 years should give you similar dividend. So anyway, so keeping that apart, what happened was that, it was basically, you need to think. So your right side of the brain should work much more than your left side of the brain. So you should be able to visualize how large the opportunity is, and then have a belief that based on the corporate governance the promoters have, is there a clear-cut distinction between management and shareholders and so on and so forth, and whether the company can deliver a long-term great growth in the company. You just buy and sit on it, and then of course keep monitoring. It's not that you just buy and just forget about it. You keep monitoring. 1 or 2 years of bad performance is fine, but if it goes beyond that, then you need to be serious. But otherwise, just hold on to the stock. And so coming back to the 800 crore, this year's profit is I think 1600, PBT is 1600 crores. So it's 2 times the turnover 15 years back.
So you still feel that the classic buy and hold, which is a rarity in today's market, and that breed of investors is no longer a true blue.
People do say that buy and hold is no longer works, but I
Exactly.
think it
You
still
think it will
works.
work?
I think it still works.
But for example, when you bought into
At
Titan,
least in a country like India, where we are still at $1,700 per capita GDP, I think it will still work.
now you are saying that, look, when you bought a stock, you were able to visualize the potential of the business and what India could be, or where the potential of consumer
I
is.
think fantasize is a more better word than visualize.
Of course. But when you bought into Titan, it
Yeah.
must be a watch company.
Yes,
there was
it
no
was.
jewelry
Okay,
business.
let me tell you there. So that was the time when they announced that they are getting into jewelry. So we bought Titan not because of watches, but because of jewelry.
Now, in markets, you don't make money by betting on yesterday's growth. You have to identify tomorrow's winners.
Correct.
So where do you think the potential of this kind of a dynamic change or growth potential or exponential demand could kick in?
So there are, for example, hospitals. Now there is a big opportunity there. I think last time also when we discussed, I talked about hospitals. They have not gone anywhere. Maybe they have come down only.
Isn't that against your grain, because hospitals is a very asset heavy model?
So there are companies which are getting into asset light model in hospitals as well. And I think when it comes to consumption, I think poor people typically spend nearly 10 to 20% of their income only in healthcare. So especially hospitals which provide the lowest cost services, I think those hospitals should do pretty well over a longer period of time. Same thing is true for insurance also. I think insurance has just started picking up in India, and there is a huge opportunity going forward.
Okay, a follow-up question on hospitals, and the news is that now government is committed to bring the healthcare costs down.
Yeah.
And first, your heart operations, they were capped, both in terms of pricing.
Correct.
Then knee operations.
Yeah.
We know the regulation Delhi government has just come out with.
Yeah.
It started with Delhi, but you don't know whether this will be an all India rule as well or not. Which clearly means that for hospitals, there would be a cap.
Yes.
Cap on margins and cap
Yes.
on profitability.
Yes. So what hospitals need to focus on is reducing their costs. And if they can do that, I think a decent margin is still possible in hospitals.
Would you be going for specialist hospitals, or would you be going with pan-India hospitals?
So I will be going in for pan-India hospitals, and I will also be going in for the lowest cost service providers in that particular specialty or in general.
But just to take a hint from what's happening in Fortis right now, the fact that there are multiple bidders and everybody is upping their price on a daily basis, it clearly means that genuine long-term investors and good entrepreneurs understand the potential of the healthcare sector.
Yes, it's absolutely correct. And same thing had happened in retail also at that time. In 2003, there were so many people who wanted to get into retail. Many of them ultimately lost out. But yes, the opportunity was there. Same thing is going to happen in hospitals also. I'm sure many of them will be bought over, or there will be mergers. But there will be 3-4 good players which will continue and do well over the longer period.
When you say insurance, now insurance is again a very complicated space. There is life insurance, general insurance, reinsurance.
Correct.
Within life insurance, there are companies which are giving a ULIP-based model, completely stock market linked model, right?
Yeah, which I don't.
You don't like.
Yeah, I don't like.
So you like life insurance, you like general insurance?
I prefer general insurance.
General insurance. Why is that?
It's simple. Every year you know what's your P&L. So there would be one bad year, but that's fine. I mean, overall, generally at the end of the year, you know how good or bad the company is.
All right, there you go. A special voice from the markets, Milind Karmarkar, talking about how he believes that India is a fine consumption story, and you need to bet on it for the long haul.